Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Alison. I write as Alison May, Juliet Bell, and most recently Ali Sinclair. I'm a novel writer. Novel writer is an odd phrase, isn't it? Author. Normally I would say author. I'm an author of novels. I'm also a creative writing tutor and a freelance editor, and here on YouTube I talk about all things authorial, publishing, novel writing related, and really anything else that takes my fancy too. If that sounds fun, please subscribe to the channel so you get notifications every time there is a new video. And I am here every Friday, and today we are going to talk about what to do when the novel you are writing just disappears down the toilet and refuses to be anything other than a steaming pile of. So, this happens to me a lot. I think it happens to most authors sometimes. And if it happens to you a lot, what happens is that you get slightly more relaxed about it over time. So I pretty much always throw away the first 20k, give or take, of any book that I'm working on and start again. That's fine. That's my writing my way into the idea time. That's sort of normal. At least twice, and I've talked about this on this channel before, I've got as far as kind of 45, 50k, got stuck in the steaming pile of, and decided to start again. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what that feels like, how to deal with it, and also what your other options might be. So, with every single novel, I will reach on more than one occasion the point where I hate the book. I hate the idea. I hate all of the words I've got down already. Even if I don't hate the idea, I am absolutely convinced that I do not have the ability to write the idea. There is just no point. The book is terrible. I'm a terrible author. It's unfixable. There is nothing to be done but to just sit on the floor and cry, and then maybe open a tea shop. Because the whole writer endeavour is clearly fundamentally flawed, destined to fail. I'm no good at it, and the book is awful. And I feel like that at some point during essentially every book. And most authors I know feel like that at some point during pretty much every book. It's normal. So that's the first thing to understand, is that it's normal. Books suck while you're writing them. Very few people can write 90,000 good words at the first attempt. It takes editing, it takes refining, it takes revising, it takes going over things again to get to something good. So while you're writing, what you're writing often will suck. You will feel like it sucks because it sucks. And that's okay. It's a process. So, when you feel like that, how do you stop yourself from... That's just me. I don't know if you could hear that, but that was just me dropping my wedding ring. I should put it back on. I play with it a lot. I don't know anyone else who wears rings does this, but I take it off and like twiddle it around my fingers a lot, and then drop it on the floor, and then panic that I'm going to lose it. I'll put it back on and hopefully not lose it. So, the question I was about to ask before I got distracted by like a literal shiny thing is, what do you do when you reach that point where the book sucks, don't think you're capable of fixing it, you hate the whole endeavour, and you just want to cry? What are your options? Well, the key thing, I think, is to learn as you go along with writing the different forms of this book sucks. And it's really hard to tell the difference when you're in amongst them. But the first kind is the kind that you get with every book, where you're just so deep in the reeds of it that you kind of can't see clearly the spine, the core of the idea anymore, and you feel like you're just throwing words in. It's getting messier and more unwieldy and more unruly, and you've completely lost the thread and you don't know how to get it back. I feel like that with every book. And the best approach to that most of the time is to just power through, because you will get it back. And if you don't quite get it back in the first draft, at least you will have something down that you can edit and revise and fix and navigate back to the core of that idea. It might even be that the core of the idea is shifted while you're writing. That happens a lot. The idea you start with isn't necessarily the core of the novel that you end up with. So it may be that what's happening under you is the idea is shifting, and it feels like you're walking through shifting sands because you are. Sometimes you can't work any of that out until you've got a full first draft. So the first option, when you feel like the book sucks and you're a terrible writer and it's all unfixable, your first option, I think, is to just try to power through. Just keep writing words. Allow yourself to write terrible, terrible words. It's fine. It's a process. You wouldn't expect to go from never working out, go to the gym one time and instantly be 4 dress sizes thinner and a million times stronger and super buff and super fit, because you understand that it's a process. Well, building a novel is also a process, and sometimes it goes quickly and sometimes it goes slowly and sometimes it feels like you're moving backwards, and all of those things are fine. So if you're just hitting that point where self-doubt is the order of the day and everything feels like it's drifting out of your control, your first option is probably to try to power through. Try to just keep putting down the words until you've got something that has the vague shape of a first draft, and then you can kick it into shape, into whatever shape you then work out it needs to be. However, I did start this video by saying I quite commonly ditch tens of thousands of words. So clearly, the just power through advice isn't always advice that I'm taking myself. So this is where we come on to the second kind of this book sucks moment, where this book sucks and you can actually sort of slightly see why. So it's a little bit more than that overwhelming but unspecific feeling that this is all wrong and horrible and terrible. There's a bit of a nub of an idea somewhere in the back of here about what it is that isn't right. Now, I don't always know that straight away. What I tend to find is that I start really enthusiastically, it goes really well. Actually, no, I don't start really enthusiastically. I hate the first kind of 5-10k. But from somewhere sort of between 7 and 10k kind of onwards through to about 15-16, it generally goes quite well and quite fast. And I'm like, yes, I'm definitely in this book now. When I get past 10k, that feels like a kind of mental barrier. Like, you're definitely writing a novel now. You're putting the words down. And then somewhere around 17, 18, 19, sometimes 21, 22,000, that sort of ballpark, I just start to slow down. And I don't necessarily even notice it at first. I might have a day where I write like 500 words less than my goal. Well, that's not catastrophic, that's fine, I can pick it up. Or maybe I hit my goal, but it takes me till like 10 o'clock at night, rather than on a really good day I might hit my writing target before lunch. So it just starts to slow down, it starts to feel a bit more of a grind. And then maybe I'll have a couple of days where I have another task to do. So with the book I'm writing at the moment, I'd got up to 24,000. About 19, it started to feel like hard work. It started to feel like I was really having to kind of push and grind out the words. But I made it up to 24,000. And then I had copy edits came from my publisher for the book that comes out in August. So I had a week break from the new manuscript to focus on my copy edits, which was fine. That was in the schedule. I knew copy edits were coming. But then that was last week. This week, I should have gone back to the new manuscript on Tuesday. And it's Thursday today. And I didn't go back to it. And sometimes that's just laziness. But other times it's because your brain is working out what the problem is. And what I've actually done now is gone, yeah, okay, there is a problem. I've started in the wrong place. And because I've started in the wrong place, it has the wrong focus, slightly has the wrong tone. I think I can fix that. I think I can actually use some of the scenes I've already written with a bit of a spit and polish, but I need to reorder it. I need to start with a different focus. And for me, beginnings of novels are really important, because what you put on page 1, in my mind, is me saying to the reader, this is what this book's about. What I put on page 1 is so important, because it's kind of my contract with the reader, where I'm laying out my stall and saying, this is what I'm writing about. So when that isn't right, it's not just that kind of one page or one chapter that needs editing. It's that I've started from completely the wrong place and then I've set off on the wrong journey. So I need to go back. So this is why I very often get to this 20k point where I'm deep enough into the novel to be starting to feel the characters a bit, feel the story a bit. And that's when my brain goes, oh, I think we should be on that path over there. I'm not even sure there is a path here. We're hacking through woodland. I think there's a path over there and we should be on it. Because sometimes it takes me that long to kind of find out who the characters are, really start to understand what it is I'm working towards. And then I can go, right, yeah, if I'm working towards there, I shouldn't have started from here. I should have started from here. And so I will very often at this point ditch what I've written so far and start again. And that's what I'm going to do this time. Some of those 24,000 words will get back in, some of them won't, but I've made a little scene plan for the first kind of 5-ish scenes that I want, and the majority of these are already exist in the manuscript. They'll need a rewrite and they'll need a change around because I'm changing the order that a few things happen. But just starting from the right point, I think, is going to make all the difference to getting me on the right path. That doesn't mean I won't go through this process again later. Like I say, this is book 11 that I'm writing at the moment, and twice before I've got to kind of 45, 50k and had exactly the same experience of being like, started in the wrong place. Need to go back to the beginning. So it could happen again, hopefully not, but it could. So that's your second option. You can start again. There's no law that says you have to plough on and get a full first draft before you go back and look at everything. What I would say is be really honest with yourself about whether you are making progress or whether you are polishing something that is sort of good enough when you should be moving forward. Only go back and start again, I would say, if you think you've gone in fundamentally the wrong direction and your brain can't pick up from where you are now to where you kind of ought to be without retracing its steps. If I've got issues at the start of a book that are more minor, I will just power through. I will just carry on as if I've fixed them. It's only when I feel like I've fundamentally kind of laid out the wrong contract with the reader in my opening that I will go back and start again and lay out my stall again. So that's option 2. You can start again. Option 3, and this is one that as writers we don't talk about anywhere near as often as we should. You can bail altogether. You don't have to finish a novel just because you've started it. If it's really, really not working, if writing it is pain and you don't feel like what you're creating is what you want to be creating, if you don't feel like what you're going to end up with on the page says what you want it to say, if you don't feel like it's going to engage a reader in the way that you want it to, it's okay to stop. Now, whether it's actually okay to stop is going to depend on lots of things, not least whether you have a contract to write this book. Even if you do have a contract to write a book, though, there are situations and there are moments where the best thing to do is go to your agent, if you have one in the first instance. If not, go direct to your editor and say, I don't think this is working. That's a really big deal if you're under contract. But delivering a book that doesn't work isn't necessarily any better. Now, it may be that an agent or editor in that instance will say, let me see what you've got so far. And they may look at it and go, this is really good. You're just having a moment of imposter syndrome. This is fine. Keep going with it. And that might be enough to get you back on track. It might be that they go, okay, if you're really not feeling it and it really isn't working, we need to revise what we're doing. We need to come up with a different idea. We need to come up with a different plan. If you're not under contract, obviously you have a bit more freedom. You don't have to go through that hurdle of fessing up to someone else that the book isn't working. But if it's really, really not working, it's okay to park it and start something else. The thing to be wary of there is that you don't become a serial starter of novels. If you've never finished a novel, if you've started lots of times and you've never finished a full draft, I would challenge you to make whatever it is you are writing right now the draft you finish, even if it sucks, because there is something to be said for finishing a draft. You learn so much from getting all the way through the full shape of the narrative by forcing yourself to work through the soggy middle and the bit where it all feels like it's falling apart to get to a resolution and a conclusion. There is something to be said for doing that just for your own development as an author. So if you've never finished a manuscript, if you've never finished a draft, challenge yourself to make the thing you are writing right now the one you finish. But if you know you can finish a draft, if that isn't the problem, then you don't have to finish this manuscript. If it's not working, if it's fundamentally flawed, if you feel like you're forcing yourself to do something that isn't creatively interesting, that you don't think is going to be interesting to readers, that just isn't working, it's okay to stop. So that's your third option. Power through, start again, walk away. And walk away doesn't have to be permanent. You can park something and come back to it years later. Sometimes months, weeks, months, years later, a penny will drop and you'll go, oh, yeah, that idea was missing X, or that idea didn't need Y. And so sometimes things come back round. There are no wasted words. But those are your three choices. Most of the time, it's your brain playing tricks on you. It's writer brain being unhelpful, and the thing to do is power through. But as you develop as an author, try and learn the different types of this book sucks feeling, because sometimes when you feel like this book sucks, it's writer brain telling you that you need to do something different. Most of the time, it's just that writer brain hates you and wants you to suffer, though. Sorry about that. It is what it is. We all get imposter syndrome. We all hate the book while we're writing it. We all think that we're not going to be good enough to finish this one, and it doesn't matter whether that is book 1 or book 2 or book 11 or book 31. We all feel like that. I get emails from best-selling, multi-published authors that say, this book sucks, I don't think I can write this book. And usually I reply, yeah, it probably does suck, but they always suck at this stage, it's fine. So we all feel like that. It's okay to feel like that. Learning the difference between your brain playing tricks on you and your brain trying to tell you something helpful is a big part of developing as an author. So good luck with that. Let me know what you do when you hate the book, when you hate the idea, when you hate writing it, and everything sucks. Let me know how you deal with that in the comments. If you enjoy this sort of video, if you're interested in writing advice and content about publishing, please do like this video, subscribe to the channel, share with all your writing friends, and I will see you next time.